Justice for Nip. So this is gonna probably be my last video. I'm gonna go turn myself in. So they just raided all my houses.
Begin with breaking news. This just in. The FBI says that South LA crime boss Eugene Big U Henley is now in custody.
Okay, Big U has turned himself in, but let's refresh our memory about the trouble he may be in. That opening clip was him on an old live stream with him and someone else laughing when someone said justice for Nip. That always struck people as pretty damn strange. Now, here's a story. There's a guy, Little Rat. Okay, so let's refresh our memory here. Luce Cannon and Bricc Baby are both in custody. As you can see, these guys in the several days, like they were just having these conversations. Because Bricc Baby and Luce Cannon have been talking crazy about each other. And they got cool in the last few days and we're doing podcasts together and we're confessing to crime. I mean, this is truly bizarre. I mean, I guess it's a function of whatever you're doing, you get comfortable doing it. That's why people get caught doing all kind of crimes. You rob a bank, you're very scared. You rob 2, you rob 5, you start to forget robbing banks is a big deal. So these guys are on these podcasts talking so much, they forget. Like, you know, people I know that seem like they might be actively doing stuff. They don't want to be interviewed. But I don't know. I don't know what people do. But so there's those guys, again, seemingly confessing to being a part of Big U's extortion program on certain people in LA. Pretty crazy. And there's Big U saying that the police were talking to him about stuff off the internet. Now, this is going to be so interesting.
600 was actually with the police when they raided my house. And he's actually got video and footage of it. So y'all know what y'all dealing with. And I just want to say this to y'all. When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about whack, Luce Cannon, 600, and this internet stuff. All of y'all filed. All y'all who be sending shit around the internet, all y'all who be promoting and listening to what these saying, all y'all giving these likes and hidden likes, all y'all supporting this. All y'all guilty of this shit. If you had something against a black man, you should handle it with a black man in the streets. Wack said 100 times he was gonna take my contracts. He working with the FBI. The FBI went to the city 3 days in a row and told the city they didn't want nobody to give me no more money. They went to all the different celebrities and told all the different celebrities, don't give me no money, don't help me, don't do nothing for me. They going around scaring and intimidating everybody.
Bricc knows, since Bricc want to bring up some dirt, I'm gonna bring up some dirt, right? Because Cuz been blackmailing Bricc.
Nah, he ain't blackmailing.
Cuz been blackmailing Bricc.
He ain't never blackmailed
for years.
He ain't never blackmailed me. Nigga, blackmail is holding it over somebody's head.
Okay,
we all this stuff together.
I'm looking at this video as I come in to turn myself in, and I'm disheartened by the fact that they trying to say that I stole something from Developing Option, or I used Developing Option as a front. Developing Option paid my bills. They paid my house note. They paid the bills for my family, the money I made. And them coming around talking about I was using Developing Option as a cover. Cover for what? None of that's going to be true. None of that's going to be true. The government putting this big-ass picture, they going to arrest 21 dudes, some dudes I don't even talk to. I don't even know nothing about. So how the hell you going to lump me in with all them? But it's all a big picture, though. It's all a big picture. Now I'm going to be sitting in here. It's going to be years out of my life. Then you going to get dudes who I don't even talk to. What they gonna say? You ruining people's lives. I heard it's over 21 people that's been arrested. This shit wrong.
As someone that reads newspaper headlines all the time and, obviously studies crime and political things and social things, the terminology, because the words are chosen for a reason, the terminology that the federal government and the news media is using to describe Big U is very interesting. Mafia boss. So, Crips and Bloods are popular in rap music, but, as far as being a criminal menace in the city of Los Angeles right now, kind of minimal to the city in general. So maybe that's not that frightening. So calling him a mafia boss sounds more menacing. And
Mr. Henley engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body in Las Vegas off of the I-15 freeway. He then attempted to evade and obstruct the investigation into the murder, including ordering witnesses not to speak with law enforcement. Henley's criminal enterprise also engaged in other crimes, including transporting prostitutes across state lines, extorting strip clubs, marijuana dispensaries, and other businesses, and fraudulently applying for COVID loans in the form of a business relief loan. On that application, Mr. Henley falsely stated that his music label, Unique Music, operated at a $200,000 profit in 2019 and was entitled to government assistance, despite the reality that the company had operated at a loss and was ineligible for such relief. Finally, Mr. Henley is accused of embezzling donations made by celebrities, professional athletes, and businesses to his charity, Developing Options, which, as I said, purports to give South LA at-risk youth alternatives to gang violence, drugs, and other criminal activity. Henley used this charity as a front. He used it to conceal his fraudulent activities, his criminal enterprises activities, and evade detection from law enforcement. If convicted on the racketeering conspiracy, he and his co-conspirators face approximately a 20-year federal prison sentence.
As you can see from the press conference, the police seem to have spent the most time talking about the fraud, or the alleged fraud, him getting money. Now, in Big U's defense, like he said, the money he took from those organizations was to pay his bills. Well, that's what community organizations, the people running them, get a salary. So he certainly has a defense on that, depending on how much he took. They didn't seem to spend a lot of time talking about the homicide. Now, the homicide is in the indictment, but he may not really have any evidence other than circumstantial, like the kid went into the studio, Big U went into the studio, there's no footage, the kid is dead. I mean, that sounds bad, but that's not, you put that in a trial, that's not going to get someone sent to prison for life, or usually it won't. And as far as them saying there was evidence tying Big U to the decedent, to the deceased young man, Rayshawn Williams, and that there was DNA under his fingernails, that's not true. There was a test that was inconclusive. I think that the material wasn't good enough. It did not rule Big U out, but it's not any proof that it was Big U. So, and they have to prove exactly what a homicide is, right? Like, if Al Prophet with his friend, and Al Prophet starts arguing with the guy, and the guy hits Al Prophet, and Al Prophet's friend jumps up to defend him and hits the guy, and the guy dies, and then Al Prophet and his friend go and get rid of the body, that's a crime. But the only crime I might be guilty of is accessory after the fact or disinterment of a corpse. And my friend might just be guilty of involuntary manslaughter. That's a totally different crime than Al Prophet and his buddy lure someone somewhere to take him out and then dump the body. Well, that's first-degree murder. So the exact circumstances of something obviously are very, very important. Well, they don't seem to have the exact circumstances. If Big U went to that studio to check that kid about wasting his money in the studio time, and the kid got brolic with him and they had a fight and the young guy passed, again, that might be some type of crime, but it might be something that's like a 3 to 5 year sentence. Lots of people, a lot of homicides end up being like that, right? If it's a fight and an argument, depending on the circumstances, the fraud part is interesting, but what's so interesting is Bricc Baby and Luce Cannon.
Sweetie! He'll be like, he'll manipulate things. Like, we'll go and do something, and the same niggas we do it to show up to the house like 10 minutes later when we trying to, counting everything, right? And we be like, how the fuck they get that? Oh, well, we're going to just give them like $40,000 back and stuff like that. But because it's actually putting us in paperwork, right?
Maybe Luce Cannon knew he knew this was coming and he's going down to ship. So he figures why hide it. And he wanted to drag as many people down as he could. I don't know. Bricc Baby, man, you definitely were, whether maybe you don't like that style of podcasting, but as far as what it was, he was good at it. He definitely had a big personality. I could see Bricc Baby possibly being in the entertainment industry for a while, but that old arrest of him with the gun. So if he had an AK-47 in his house, like they say, though, who knows if that's even true? Who knows what's true? We're getting this information off the internet. But something's true, because these guys have been indicted. Luce Cannon was out in Las Vegas because they booked him into Henderson Jail, which is a big suburb next to Vegas. So a lot of these people that are talking about all this gang stuff in Chicago and in LA, they're all in Vegas. So... now, here's a clip of Little Rod Zay.
That dude, he a red rag, and you bringing red rags to the hood, and plus, I heard you made a diss record about me. What's up? Was it about me? Man, I love Nip. You gotta love this skinny guy, man. Built like Bruce Lee or somebody, skinny. Flyway. Hell yeah, it's about you, Big U. And Big U launched the water bottle at his face. What'd he do that for? In the words of Nip. Big homie, you gotta come on outside and see me. Big U went out there like he was about to mail in the victory. He just knew he had that one. Dead homies. Bro. Went out there stretching on that old MMA, mixed martial arts stuff. But that shit only work in the mirror. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Ask anybody. Ask the front hoods. Man, Nip maxed this dude out. Walked him up out of there until Bear Claw say, bro, you don't need to be fighting this young dude. Tiny Draws, get out there. Nip gave him what he wanted also.
We could walk into a place and that'll make people fearful just knowing that it's rolling 60s and what it carries behind it.
What does it carry behind it?
It carries dirt, carries murder, carries whatever you want. Treachery.
I was asking around. Adrian Bronner is known for shooting dice. So that story of Adrian Bronner cheating NBA players out of millions of dollars, and then they have to call Big U to get their money back. So Big U thought he was doing a good deed, and it's come back to haunt him. Because that is like some mafia stuff. We were cheated out of millions, and we don't call the police, we call Big U. But I have to say, a lot of these young athletes, They got the Ja Morant syndrome. They're real clowns. Like, these are suburban guys making millions of dollars in the NBA, doing stuff with people like Big U and shooting dice. Why would you be shooting illegal? Like, go to the casino. You want to shoot dice in a hotel room with a washed up boxer who's cheating you, and then you want to go get a gang leader to get your money back. Those guys are equivalent to the white businessman who get himself mixed up with the Italian mafia. They want to have dinner with the wise guys, gamble with them. Just watch the Davey Scatino episode of Sopranos. Davey Scatino owns a sporting goods store. He gets in over his head gambling. Tony Soprano takes his truck and gives it to her. Or takes Davey Scatino's college-age son's truck and gives it to his daughter, who goes to school with him, and she recognizes, like, oh my God, you took my friend's truck. And Tony Soprano's like, well, that's my job. He owed money. Anyways, point being, extortion is something for people that aren't going to call the police. So this idea that people, just gang members, go around extorting people, they don't extort people who will call the police, which is what a normal person should be. Only if you are doing things or behaving in a manner indicative, like, oh, I'm a street person, I wouldn't call the police. Okay, well, now you've walked into the web on your own. You've chosen to place yourself under street rules, and then you get extorted, right? If you shoot dice at a casino, none of this would have happened. But anyways, so I didn't believe necessarily all the things that Luce Cannon and Bricc Baby were saying, but now with them being part of the indictment, with them talking about this stuff on the eve of the indictment.
Bricc knows, since Bricc want to bring up some dirt, I'm going to bring up some dirt, right? Because Cuz been blackmailing Bricc.
Nah, he ain't blackmailing.
Cuz been blackmailing Bricc.
He ain't never blackmailed
for years.
He ain't never blackmailed me. Nigga, blackmail is holding it over somebody's head.
Okay, listen.
We all this stuff together.
Probably little Radze is telling the truth, I guess, like, because other people told their story. And here's the thing. To go to the Nipsey Hussle and Eric Holder heart of the matter. It was Eric Holder supposedly got 60 years in prison, right? Well, he's eligible for parole, as you see here, in 2039. That's 14 more years. Like, Eric Holder could see the light at the end of the tunnel already. And let's just say he was part of some grand conspiracy. If Big U is orchestrating, or him and others are orchestrating, or orchestrated the Nipsey thing and used Eric Holder, etc., well, then that means they have contingents of people in prison that are going to look out for Eric Holder. Eric Holder's not really going to be any worse off in prison than anybody else, which is to say it's probably not going to be too fun, but same thing for everybody there. And for those of you obsessed with celebrity culture to think, oh, well, he killed Nipsey and he can't be in there, and everyone that's doing a long time did some foul crime that might have been in the newspaper. People are there for taking out police, go on a drive-by, accidentally hit an 8-year-old. Look at the little Ronnie thing in Texas. Like, a lot of people are convicted of foul crimes. That's how you get long prison terms. So he's not, once the fervor of the trial died down, he's just another inmate. And he probably has a contingent of supporters in there, So that's what was making me think, like, no, that couldn't possibly be a conspiracy, because I was thinking Eric Holder got all that time. Why wouldn't he tell? Because when it boils down to it, when you look at who tells and who doesn't, it's really, do you get an amount of time that you think you can handle, that you can do, and what sort of support are you going to get? Eric Holder's parole date is 2039. I don't know what all this 60 years is or how the California parole thing works, but that guy has a very, very doable amount of time. Could Big U and others have convinced him to redeem himself, that he could be back in the hood, he could be good? Because that guy, there's people that are, LA has some guys that are gang bang crazy, like their whole life is just a gang. So if Eric Holder had been kicked out of the Rolling 60s neighborhood for inappropriate events at an earlier time, and he was told he could come back around if he did this, hey, 15 years, he's been in sick. Oh, you probably do a third of your time, maybe. Because he's already been in, when was that crime? 2018, 19? So he's been in 5-6 years. He's got 19. He's a quarter of the way down. He's not really in the home stretch, but I mean, you know. So it'll be interesting, obviously, to see what happens. What do you guys think what's the percentage chance that something to do with Nipsey Hussle gets brought into this? Is it greater than 50%? Also, what do you guys think about Little Rod Zay's story of the day Nipsey and Big U supposedly had a big fight? Does that sound believable? Do you think that happened? Now, there was also the story about, Fats, who got bumped off at the dispensary. Now, there is a dispensary extortion charge in the indictment. So I'm just trying to piece things from the indictment to what we've heard being said on social media, because the social media stuff has been showing itself to be real. These guys have been telling real stories, which is mind-boggling. Wow. Bricc and Luce were on no jumper and were at just the hours before the indictment. But he's blackmailing you. No, that's not blackmail. We did stuff together. And as you heard Big U say, the police were asking him about just the case was built. The case was built off two things: that young man's parents in Vegas and social media. Now, if Big U killed a young guy who used to live with him just because they got into an argument about studio time, that's foul. And, you know, lock him up, throw away the key. But who knows what happened? Like I said, there's other scenarios. There could have just been a fight. I mean, it definitely looks bad for Big U, don't get me.
Justice for them.
Whack 100, I'm not going to call him a law enforcement officer. I don't have any proof of that. But watching how him gives you the same feeling that a lot of people have. Like, he sure seems to know everything. Of course, if he was getting it from the police, why would he have to put it out there, and why would the police use it? I don't know. Whack does know a lot. It could be, though, just people tell him stuff. That millions of dollars that was going to Big U and his crew, someone else is going to get it now, because that's money that the federal government and the state gives, and it's for community building. You have to have community people, right? You can't have gang violence intervention people and it's all outsiders. You're going to have people from the neighborhood. So if Big U's organization's gotten $2.3 million in the last 5 years or whatever it is, well, that means someone else is going to get $2.5 million in the next couple of years. And the Olympics are coming up in 2028. They don't want any problems over there. That Crenshaw neighborhood in Slauson is very nice. It's been cleaned up, rebuilt. You'd be shocked you went over there. It's I don't mean it's like nice for a hood area. Like, it's just a really nice area. Now, I'm sure there's some, I'm not super familiar with every nook and cranny or side street, and I'm sure there's some blocks you don't want to turn down, I guess, probably over there. Maybe not anymore. I really don't know. But as far as on the main streets over there, big businesses, chain restaurants, gourmet stuff, expensive apartments, new subway line. LA is like New York. It's so expensive that any little neighborhood that's marginal that they can claw back and make it upscale is worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. So Big U gave them enough rope to hang him, possibly. Again, if he did that homicide, that's pretty foul. There's certainly circumstantial evidence that makes you think he could be involved with Nipsey, but innuendo, gossip, what something seems like. Now we're getting dangerously close into judging people on, oh, well, he looks like a killer. Well, you know, you can't say that. You know, you got to prove what somebody did. What do you guys think about Eric Holder, Shitty Cuz? Did he do this on behalf of, did he knock off Nipsey on behalf of Big U? This fight at the studio and the deceased young man in Las Vegas sounds suspiciously similar to these scenarios we're hearing about Nipsey. Fight over studio equipment, over studio time. Those that do not know history are doomed to repeat it. This is the exact same story as Nipsey. Fight over studio time, an argument that young guy, Rayshawn, he was a wide receiver for Crenshaw. He was big and in shape and young. Big U made a whole life of being able to beat everybody up, and he probably still is a rough customer, but he's 58. So a 58-year-old fighting a 24-year-old who's fresh off of being a high school football star. And you know the sick part about the whole thing, not the sick part, but the irony as far as you see these amounts of money. Oh, they were getting $25,000 a month extorting the reefer shop, have $2 million in loans, in payouts for the grid program. And it sounds like a lot of money, but not when you break it down. That's over 5 years, even the $25,000 a month. Well, if you got 10, 15 goons on the payroll, you hear what Luce Cannon said, we're breaking up. Luce Cannon said we would go out and rob people and be at Big U's house breaking down the money, and then the person would show up and Big U would give him part back and he would write our names down. That is insanity. That it happened and that he said it and that the whole thing. Wow. Okay, now another topic. This is going to change the landscape of podcasting. This is going to change the landscape of podcasting. What do you guys think? As far as in this, they've stopped interviewing rappers, right? That's burned out. Everyone's a street person, ex-street person. They want to talk about street stuff, gangs. And now you've had two of the guys who talk a lot are in an indictment. Bricc Baby was like, as far as that world goes, was like kind of a big deal. He wasn't Johnny Carson, but he was Ed McMahon. It's like Ed McMahon getting indicted. Like they ran up in Johnny Carson and took Ed McMahon and indicted him. Did you know Ed McMahon played a villain in a blaxploitation movie in the 70s? Little known fact, check it out. He had a leisure suit on and some big Cazelle glasses. Ed McMahon is a villain. This is going to change podcast. People got to be, all the gang guys, the people that's still messing around halfway in the street, they coming. And this shows you that it's not only that they're doubling back and using what you say as evidence. They're using it to investigate in the first place. They are listening. Listen, please believe me when I tell you, every medium to large size police force, and certainly every federal agent, has at least one, and if it's a big police force and well funded, there's a whole office to work on social media. They come in at 9 a.m., whatever their shift is. That's all they do. That's all they do. Between looking at the cameras and looking at social media, everything's there. And the thing about running a criminal, being a gang, extorting people, you do need people to know what you're doing because it runs off of intimidation. And then also when you mix in the rap, where it's free marketing and promotion, you do sort of want people to know what you're doing, right? I want people to know you mess with Al Prophet, you're going to get shot up. Well, okay, where is the line drawn from that to, well, Al had so-and-so shoot so-and-so at 2 p.m. on July 10th. Well, we don't want that. Well, where do you strike the balance? Well, apparently some people didn't strike the balance. So they won't stop solving crimes off social media. In fact, we're just getting started. But I guess we're in the era where people are just now coming to terms with, no, the internet is what goes on on these internet streets is just as me and you confessing the crimes on a podcast is no different than me sitting on my couch and confessing a crime to you and you telling the police, or you wearing a wire. We're all wired now. We're all confidential informants because we're all wearing a wire because we're carrying our phone around. So think about that, my fellow confidential informants. Whether you like it or not, we are all part of the case. Al Prophet American Dope. More later.